So 3 types of bone strengthening activities. So weight training, we've already talked about the things that we shouldn't be doing or that you should be doing. It's just you need to add a little more. So we incorporate weight training, balance exercises, and flexibility. Because with all of these together, we're working on posture, you're working on balance, and you're working on building that bone mass density. So we're really helping to prevent that fracture risk, because if your posture is good and your balance is good, we are really taking a huge percent of that fracture risk out of the picture or out of the equation. So weight training, moderate to high intensity, it's a lot of heavy weights. You can use dumbbells, you can use resistance training, you can use different body weight. You can use, like, yoga is a great thing, like using body weight. And again, if you're going to work, obviously you can do some upper body, but really pay close attention to your hips, your wrist, and your core specifically. Seeing those are the most fracture risk places in your body. But balance, you need to be at a level where you're challenging your balance. And this can be really scary to exercise. So it's really important to know what you're doing when you're practicing balance, to make sure you're in a safe place and make sure that you have someone nearby when you're practicing the balance exercises. And flexibility, 2 to 3 times a week to promote flexibility and mobility.
So you would recommend these classes? I mean, people even in their 30s or early on, you would recommend to incorporate these weight training, balance exercises early on rather than at a later point in your life?
Absolutely. As you know, because you deal with this all the time with all kinds of different ailments, prevention is always better than, starting it after the diagnosis. That does not mean give up hope. I have the diagnosis, I can't do anything. There has been one of the owners of a business that I work for. His mom stopped taking her medication because she wasn't getting any better. Now, not that I recommend doing that, so don't take it that way, but she decided to do the all natural approach, and she changed her diet, she changed her lifestyle, and she started exercise, and her numbers significantly came up in her bone mass density. So you can reverse osteoporosis, but it's always better to start as young as you can. If you can start even in your 20s, because as soon as you hit 30, that's the max amount that you're going to have. So you're really working downhill from there. So you can certainly continue to weight train in your 30s and 40s, but I would just say for anyone with any diagnosis, weight training is going to be great for keeping your balance, helping with your posture, and helping you succeed through your daily activities in life. So there is some really great things that I personally love. This isn't for everybody, but Tai Chi. Tai Chi, not so great for your bone density, but it is wonderful for your balance and your mind, because that movement of that breath and body work can really help ease your mind. And if you remember back with our risk factors, having a high stressed life can cause your bone loss. So just decreasing those cortisol levels in your body. So Tai Chi is really good for just practicing that balance, getting that mind and body connection. Pilates, one of my personal favorites, since I am a Pilates instructor, is great for your core strength, and it's great for your posture. And it also has a lot of the breath work and the mindfulness aspects that decrease your stress levels. There are a lot of risk factors when dealing with osteoporosis. So I wouldn't suggest, if you have a significant DEXA scan score and you have osteoporosis, to go jump in a local Pilates class, unless you can talk to the instructor one-on-one, let them know that you do have this diagnosis and this condition, because it's really important to not do a lot of that forward bending that a lot of the Pilates moves have. Weightlifting, again, is wonderful for producing those forces that we talked about stimulating your bone growth. It's not super great for your range of motion, but it's okay to a certain point because you want stability in your joints. So I would choose some stability in the joints. So weightlifting is great for stabilizing those joints. It's great for building your bone density. It can produce orthopedic issues if you don't know what you're doing. So again, you really need to make sure you're working with someone that understands osteoporosis, understands the risk factors, So just talk to the person you're working with. You should be able to get a good idea of what they do and don't know. But it's really important when you're dealing with osteoporosis in an aging community, you want to make sure you're getting a balanced workout, because what about our posture? What about our balance? These are all elements that need to be put into that workout program for you. And then yoga. If you think about yoga, yoga incorporates all of these elements together. They work with posture, strength, balance. Yoga is free. You can do it anywhere. It has been around for thousands of years. And again, it reduces your stress because you have that mind-body connection. You have that deep breath work. You have the Shavasana at the end that's going to help decrease your cortisol levels, because the cortisol levels, they interfere with those osteoblasts, which are cells that build your muscle tissue or build your bone density. So if the osteoblasts aren't working properly, you're not going to get that strong bone mass density. And so really important. Stress reduction is really, really important when dealing with osteoporosis. So I thought this was a really important slide to add in here, because if you decide to go out on your own, or you already exercise and you take your local gym classes, please know you should not have any extreme forward bending and no deep twisting. So these are the two big no-nos when it comes to osteoporosis. So when you're doing yoga, you want to use a chair. So your back remains flat and you're not getting that forward hump when you're reaching towards the floor. You're always hinging at the hips. You're not hinging at the back. So no chronically forward back posture. Make sure when you're doing your core exercises, you're holding a neutral spine, which means not a lot of that deep twisting that you find in some of those classic exercise classes, and no crunches. If I can tell you anything today, if you're doing crunches, stop, because all that does is increase your poor posture and it puts way too much force on your spine. So also when you're doing yoga, avoid stretching, because remember we talked about joint stability. When you're dealing with osteoporosis, having really strong and stable joints is really important. So only stretch until you feel the pull and don't push through. And then avoid any kind of really deep hip opener exercises, because you can do some hip openers, but some of those, like the pigeon where you're on the ground, some of those are just a little too advanced. And remember, there's modifications for everything. So if you're working with someone who knows what they're talking about, they're able to give you safe and effective modifications for you.